Did you see it? Such a lovely color. Yeah. I can't help it. A color evokes a certain emotion. A couple shades darker. Yeah! The fireside chat between Putin and Evans that night marked the start of an oil romance between the Russian and American governments, one that would soon draw in Lee Raymond and ExxonMobil. From the beginning, it was an engagement marked by exceptional optimism on the American side, shadowed by a long history of mistrust rooted in the Cold War. Old Think, as Bush's ambassador to Russia, Alexander Sandy Vershbow, put in a cable to Washington. The hypothesis Evans and others in the Bush administration pursued after the Crawford dinner was that a strategic campaign to deepen commercial ties between oil companies in the United States and Russia might transform Russia's internal politics, remake U.S. Russian relations, and even alter the global geopolitics of oil. President George H.W. Bush had seen oil for friendship as a critical element of his campaign to build a partnership with Mikhail Gorbachev as the Soviet Union cracked up. Bush persuaded Gorbachev to endorse Chevron's pioneering, lucrative entrance into the Tengiz oil project in the then Soviet Republic of Kazakhstan. George W. Bush intended something similar with Putin, whose intentions as a political leader and as a sponsor of market led modernization were at best enigmatic. But then we gotta go to the one from the library on the other side of the train. And what does this say? Something that keeps coming up. Seeking revenge! BP launched an attack on TNK that eventually involved both Madeleine Albright, then the Secretary of State, and Dick Cheney, then the CEO of Halliburton, the petroleum service company. In an effort to enhance its productivity in its oil fields, TNK signed a $198 million contract with Halliburton for the purchase of its services and access to more advanced technology. To finance this, Halliburton and TNK applied for a loan from the U.S. Export Import Bank in Washington. Angry that an official agency of the U.S. government had agreed to underwrite what it viewed as the theft of its property, BP protested to Secretary of State Albright, who found a way to abort the loan. After some bitter recriminations on both sides, however, BP and TNK kissed and made up, and in August 2003, in the presence of Vladimir Putin and British Prime Minister Tony Blair, the heads of both companies agreed to form a TNK BP 50-50 partnership that would operate TNK's assets under BP management within Russia. BP later encountered some problems as the Russian government adopted a more hostile attitude toward foreign involvement in the Russian energy sector, especially in cases where foreigners own as much as 50% of the venture. Despite occasional statements to the contrary, Putin made it very clear that while he was happy to have foreign investors put their money in Russian energy companies, he did not want foreigners running them. How completely unreasonable that sounds. In September 2007, he made it explicit, complaining that too many foreigners were managing Russian companies, reflecting that same xenophobia. There were widespread rumors that Putin would arrange for the state to buy out TNK BP's Russian partners. Then, once it owned 50% of the TNK BP venture, the state would move to reduce BP shares to below 50% or push it out completely. Dick Cheney, of course, went on to become vice president under George W. Bush. Before long, he found himself being blamed because the United States had become mired in Iraq. So neither TNK BP or Cheney has lived ever happily ever after. Oh dear.